So we just talked about the length that we can expect for toxin to last. One of the things that we can also get questions about is what can I do to help it last as long as possible? So really consistency is one of those things. The more regular you get your toxin over time, it has an additive effect, which I think is really cool, that you might not need as much at those later appointments, or you might notice that it's lasting a little bit longer in between those appointments. The more often that you get it, the longer that you've been getting it, you also have muscle memory, so you aren't going to be needing as much of the toxin. So that's definitely something that you can do to help prevent it from wearing off too soon.
Right. I just want to speak from personal personal experience. When I first started getting injections, I was 22. I had just met Megan and she injected me for the first time. And I think we did about 22 units just in my forehead. I've got a big, broad forehead that goes back. And I was needing to get re-injected about every 3 to 6 months. I did start younger though, so that also helps with the longevity of the product. And now I probably inject maybe 10 units. Obviously, I do it very specifically because I'm obsessed now. But and I only need to do that every 6 to 8 months too. So it really does have an effect when you pay attention to it and start as young as possible as well. So speaking of longevity, we also have to mention prevention, which is a new way of thinking about toxin injections. In the past, what we were doing was always treating lines that were already there, coming from a much more corrective approach. But nowadays, there's a lot that you can do to actually start before you ever see lines, before you ever get major corrective needs. One of those things that we love to approach is your at-home routine. So your skincare is going to be really important. Our worst cases that we see in the office, I would say almost hands down, is either a smoker or somebody who's not wearing their SPF. The sun is not our friend. She only hurts us, I promise. She's beautiful, but next is going to be starting your toxin routine as young as possible, like we mentioned with our previous question, before those lines actually show up. That's when you want to start getting injected, because the turning point is when your dynamic lines, meaning the lines that happen to your face when you move, turn into static lines. And static lines is when they stay there even when your face is at rest. Those guys are what turns our brains into major correction, which means we need to start on lasers or chemical peels or something like that. So much more budget friendly to start younger as well. And then lastly, like Megan had mentioned a few questions ago, is consistency. So the more you keep up with your treatments over time, especially if we're coming from correction, but prevention as well, those lines are never going to have an opportunity to show up. So you're not going to get the lines, and they're definitely not going to get worse the longer that they're being treated.
Exactly.